Okay. It's not that I've finally figured it out, it's occurred to me that I should put my knowledge into practice and hold my phone away from my face a little bit. Otherwise it just looks like I've got a really big nose. My nose is big enough without accentuating it. So what I wanted to do, this is, to be honest, a bit more of a chore than anything else, and that's often what it is. And people often, because I get harassed by emergency staff when I indicate suicide plans, and or or they get wind of a suicide attempt or something. Like there's some people, and it's not, as I've said, it's not anyone's fault until it's explained to them, and I think the explanation is really enlightening, that New Zealanders have been trained to think of, and it's not just New Zealanders, but I know everyone likes to deride America. America's a bit more enlightened, and England's a bit more enlightened, but America in particular is a bit more, they are starting to understand, or they have, or sections of their mental health system, or practitioners or whatever, because a lot of it's privatised. And the reason it's so expensive is not what people think it is. It's because it's it's not capitalism. It's the government meddling and making everything, like triple handling everything. But there are mental health practitioners who are well aware that suicide is often an escape from something that has nothing to do with mental health. I don't know why there's something that makes people think that suicide is intrinsically a mental health problem. Like, the only reason you could possibly have to kill yourself is that you're either depressed or deluded. It's like, do people forget that we have bodies that need places to live, bodies that can feel pain? I want to know, whereabouts was my mental health problem when I was sleeping in a bus stop in the fetal position? Luckily enough, I'm not quite tall enough to not have fit in between the the armrests for basically the fattest people we can think that we need to accommodate in society. And no offence to fat people either, I know often that it is not a matter of overeating, and if it is a matter of overeating, it's like, well, that's their vice, what's yours? So I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I've learned a lot about things that are in and out of our control, and things that other people just brush off as a lack of willpower. It's like, yeah, people do have a lack of willpower, or let's say that their willpower could be exactly as strong as yours or twice as strong, but the fact of their genetic makeup or whatever's happened to them has made what tempts you a little bit tempts them more than their self-control can cope with. And lucky for you, and I'm not saying you're privileged, it's not a privilege to not have a disorder, it's just being normal. It's not, no one's privileged for not having a disorder, but there are some people who I've had my eyes opened a lot to this kind of stuff, especially with the ADHD thing, and learning of this very good hypothesis that a lot of people who are in prison for violent crimes have ADHD, which is not a self-control problem. It's not, and it's horrible to be smeared as that females, when they lack self-control with ADHD, because I have ADHD, our lack of self-control doesn't usually present in the same way that males represent lack of self-control, or what appears to be lack of self-control. Like when females, it's not self-control, it's not the lack of self-control, it's the lack of being able to control your neurochemicals. And our neurochemicals are bestowed on us much like a liver is bestowed on us. If you don't have a liver, you don't have a liver to, it's like blaming someone for not filtering, excess nutrients. Or, to be honest, I as a person with a kidney transplant who's been through kidney failure, I still don't know. I still don't understand I still don't understand what a liver is for if the kidneys are there. And when you look up dictionary definitions, they just say the same thing in different words. Yeah, anyway, whatever. It's fucking marvellous to know what one's talking about, isn't it? Wonder what that's like. What I was talking about, it's this very strange idea that we have in New Zealand and in much of the Western world, that to want to kill oneself, or to have that notion, to have that intention, is somehow automatically a subset of a mental health disorder, or a symptom of a subset of a mental disorder. That the idea that one wants to die must automatically be a mental disorder. It's like, and it's depressing to me, because I'm actually a really open-minded person, and when I make very, very, very firm judgments, it's not, people go, oh my God, you're so judgmental, or it's so black and white for you, or, why can't you explore the idea? It's like, wow, you've just judged me as having not explored the idea. It's like, when people get rockets into space, do you think it's just because they just came up with the idea, just made a snap judgment that they would just try to use like rocket technology and rocket fuel? Do you think maybe there was something that came before that? Why do people assume that my strong ideas, like having strong opinions, is likewise equated with making snap judgments? It's really weird. And it's so weird. I'm very careful about judgments that I make. And I make a lot of quick judgments these days, because some of them are kind of heuristics, and heuristics are not good things. People talk about them as sort of labour-saving devices, or, rules of thumb. And in a way they're a rule of thumb, but they're completely, like heuristics are untested hypotheses treated as theory. I wish there was something, because a hypothesis doesn't lead to a theory, leads to a law. Laws are different things. Hypotheses and theories are just different strengths of justification for an explanation of something that's been observed. Whether or not there's an explanation for gravity, and there is a very good explanation for gravity. Gravity's being a law, the law of gravity, and the law means it happens every time. There are no exceptions. There's no degree, it's not such a high level probability, it's like it's gained law status. It means that this will happen every time. It doesn't mean that we have an explanation for it. We do have an explanation for it, but that's not the same thing. And I wish there was another, you can have a theory and a law. And for gravity, we have a law that always happens. Law simply meaning that's it. And we don't need to check it out any further, it always happens. And then a theory is to do with gravitation, the poles of the different pull, the amount of strength that's being exerted on a downward exertion and exerted on an object. And we know that gravity has more resistance in water and in space, and cats. So and I wish that there was a version of that for a hypothesis, because there are things that just are probably the case, whether or not we know what it is. It's like, one of the examples is like there's a lot of, because I take a lot of immunosuppressants. Well, I take 3 immunosuppressants, and some of the medications I take, and my nephrologist in Wellington, he was a clinical lead, and he was really, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't have the evidence to say this, but to me, he seemed like a real medical polymath. And I sort of understand a little bit of the reason for that, because I did learn quite belatedly that he had a very sick daughter with who's one of the syndrome of terrible problems that afflicted her was also kidney failure. So it could be that he had just that kind of knowledge, in his attempts to help her. Whatever it was, I may have sort of deified him a little bit, just a little bit. It's so funny. Some people get me, and some people find me funny. There's someone, who's entered my life temporarily, as is usually the case, especially when you're, that level of homeless where, you've got a shelter over your head, but you don't know how long for, and it's not your home. And that's been going on for much of this year. Oh, it's been going on for 9 months. Yeah. Anyway, every now and then you come across someone who thinks I'm a real gas, like, oh, you're so funny, like, a little bit like funny haha, but also like funny, like, wow, like, you're so unusual, and you're so like unexpected, like, you're just like surprising me all the time. And she said to me yesterday that she was trying to explain me to her sister, and she was just like, oh, forget it, you'd have to meet her to know. And the thing is, like, whatever people see of me is got a lot to do with what I'm allowed to show. And I fucking hate being told who I am. And that's why I want to talk about judges. But I think I'm going to post this first, because I have to get this ramble out of the way so I can correctly label this. I hate being told who I am by people who don't know me. And it's especially egregious when these people are dealing, or they have been hired, they have been promoted to deal with evidence, and they don't use any fucking evidence when it comes to deciding who I am. and people say no good evidence or no good reason, and that to me gives more credit to the reason or the evidence than should be given, because it makes it sound like, oh, it's evidence, it's just not very strong evidence. Whereas when I say there's no good evidence, I mean it's junk. And that's why I think that the judiciary, and before I got tangled up in this, I always thought the judiciary, courtrooms are the wrong places to determine facts, because judges are not, and lawyers are not trained to, they've got no epistemology training, they've got no reasoning training. They really don't. They really don't. Those I've talked to, I've had met a zoologist who, I know the zoologist is not a lawyer or a judge, but a zoologist who had to take a first year philosophy paper because science could do with a bit of a kick up the arse these days. Philosophy used to be called natural science. No, what was that? No, it wasn't called natural science, it was called something else. We've moved into natural science because before we had any investigation techniques for the empirical, because the empirical isn't, yes, it is what is observed, but it is not what is interpreted. And most people cannot, and this is just the human makeup, I'm not casting blame, it's just the way humans are made. We are flawed and we are intellectually, cognitively flawed. We think we're observing something, but we're not. We are weaving in what we're seeing with our interpretation and assessment at the same time, which explains some very interesting stories about eyewitness accounts. Really interesting shit that I read. Like there was a plane that fell out of the sky, I think in some coastal region of the United States, and in my mind I'm imagining somewhere in New England or something. Did I say West Coast? I mean East Coast. And I'm assuming it was coastal because there would have been some reason for some people to have thought that it fell into the sky, but it didn't. There are loads and loads and loads of eyewitnesses to this fucking plane falling out of the sky. And there is one rule of, say, disaster or crime investigation. I don't think crime investigation is called one, not in New Zealand, but disaster investigation, where what happened, ask the people who saw it. But you've got to ask them very, very, very quickly, because the longer you leave them alone with their with what is in there genuinely an observation, the longer you leave them alone with that observation, the more you're leaving it to be interpreted and distorted, and we literally start to remember something different. And of course it's a pseudo-memory, but we will swear black and blue that we saw something that we fucking did not see. And I'm not even getting started on the fact that what we see is not what is actually there, it's just what evolutionarily advantages us to see, in the same way that flies like the world is not faceted, okay? The world is not faceted, or there's no reason to privilege the fly's ocular, apparatus over our own. It may be better, whatever, but I can't think of any reason off the top of my head why that would be a more accurate view on things that are, ontologically. You can see why people think that philosophers are fucking wasting their time. But this is shit that matters. It's like ontology, the study of things that are. people go, well, what the fucking fuck are these fucking lunatics on about? And then you have a branch of ontology called metaphysics, which I did a paper on. And that one is the study of what things are like. But you need these investigations, and I don't know who it was. It was like, there's Michael Johnson or Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson, I think it was that era. It's that era, and please bear with me. This was 30 years, about 30 years ago, and I was not into basketball, so please forgive me for not knowing which one. I know they are very different people, but I don't know. They were just, the only one that distinguishes themselves among Marie is Charles Barkley, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, he's a very unusual face. Anyway, it was that idea that, someone says, hey, and I'm sure it was Magic, why are you so good at basketball? And, I think a sports journalist might have asked a slightly more sophisticated question, but he said, it's easy, you just make training harder than the game. And that's what philosophers are there for, is we train so fucking hard on the really laying down the layers of first principles so that the rest of us, because we're also in us, can live a life where we're more certain about what things exist and what those things that exist are like. Okay, and that's very closely related to science. And I said this zoologist, her class had to take the first level philosophy class, and then I know that at least modern lawyers need to take philosophy classes, and it's like, really, philosophy and law used to be really, really good bedfellows, and now they're not. And I'm seeing judges who they can't use the excuse that they, the noobs that came from the woke generation, they're grumpy old fucking men who look like, grandfather clocks in animated Disney movies, and they know nothing about how to formulate a belief. They honestly think that what's put on the judge file, the court file, is unmitigated reality. And so I really do need to just fill up with what happened when I went to my hearing, because what happened was I did kind of like a sit-in. I didn't occupy my fucking bedroom, not my place in the courtroom, because it's like, can you clowns fucking tell me why I'm here? Because it doesn't sound like you've got any reason. You've dropped the ball every which way. And I've got a bit of a rant coming, but I just want to read. So I went to court. I was treated like shit by this fucking egomaniac judge, and I realised that because there's something that I've discovered really well, and people. So often I'm told that I've got no social skills and that I'm really bad with people. And that includes the same fucking asshole who, well, I say it was Lauren who got a restraining order, but actually she didn't. She got a fucking henchman, fucking white knight to do it for her, but he got a restraining order against me, and who the fuck is he? Like, I regret to know him from Bar of Soap. But when I went to court and I saw a duty lawyer first, and then afterwards, after I'd yelled at the judge and he'd yelled at me, and then I burst into tears. And everyone told me, everyone keeps passing the buck about the human. I keep going, my human rights, the Bill of Rights Act, you're breaking the law. Judges do not like to be told they're breaking the law. And it's like, it's amazing. So the fact that you don't want to be told you're breaking the law gives you the right to be absolutely apoplectic with me and threaten me with the cells. And I'm not mischaracterising it. I'm really not. Do you know what he said? He just started off telling me who I am, and and I won't go into that detail because that's something that is going to follow up. But if anyone's watched a previous video of mine or made it through to the bit where it says this, like, yeah, I refused to go back to court until someone told me what the fuck it was for fuck's sake. I'd already tuned up to a fucking trial. A trial, after 3 case review hearings, to a trial that was set down. This was a trial, a judge-alone trial, to hear police's charges against me and for me to respond. Okay? And I went to that trial because the police who kicked my door down, who to take me to hospital, which, I mean, I had a very, very brief debate with them about, but it was just an entirely theoretical debate about whose rights took precedence. Because I said, well, I've got the right to kill myself. There's no law against killing myself. And I said, by the same token, anyone, literally anybody, also has the right to use as much power as necessary to stop me from killing myself. But the timing's really crucial on that. Like, you can't broaden it to, you know, I really wish the law were more specific about it, because I should never have been held under the Mental Health Act, because, yeah, anyway, whatever, I've been through that over a year ago. But I did say, look, I have a right to kill myself. You have a right to stop me if I'm in the act, which the jig's up. I am. And they said, yes, that's right. And I said, it's not because you're cops, you've got no special fucking jurisdiction. It's only because you're another human being. And I appreciate that. I'm not really, you know, when push comes to shove, I'm not really in the position of power here. You know, like, I didn't really want to, there's no need to put a finer point on it, but there are 2 of them and there's 1 of me. And I think the only one required to use any kind of force on me would have been the one who kicked my door down with my barricade, like I just had like a matchstick in there. Yeah, like I just said, look, I'm not really interested in having a physical fight with the police, so I'm going to come with you, but I want you to know that it's not my choice, and that's not what I want to do. That's not my choice is to stay here, but I understand that you're not going to give me that choice, and I'm not going to have a fight with you. And they said, well, the guy said, yes, that's probably quite wise. So it's like, yeah, like, I'm not, why would anyone fight with the police? Like, why would you do that? What on earth do you think you're going to get out of it? Jesus Christ, like, you've got to be a fucking gangster, cop killer or something, because you're not going to get, it's not going to go your way. Anyway, so I went and I didn't do any fucking dragging my heels or anything. I just walked out with them and was like, hey, I gotta go to hospital now. And I, of course, had to go to court the next day, which was the 12th, because it was my fucking trial. And as I've said, I mean, I didn't even get to a bed before I just said, look, because I was still in this sort of waiting area because a bed still has to be found, even though I was prioritised. I was just like, it's my watch. It's 9 o'clock, like I've got to go to this Ava fucking criminal trial in half an hour. And they're like, you can't go, you are going to collapse. And I'm like, but if I don't go, there's going to be a warrant for my arrest. And I'm going to get arrested and I'll get charged. And I can tell from the attitude of the judge yesterday, that was like the day before, was a pretty good call on my part. They don't give a shit what you're going through. It enrages them when you have a fucking good reason for something that you want to tell them about. And there's no way that those fucking cops were going to help me out and go radio through and go, yeah, she's in hospital for like trying to kill herself and needs to be assessed. Like, there's no way they were going to help her brother out. So I had to just walk out, and luckily enough I found the courthouse easily enough. Coming back from the courthouse was a fucking nightmare. It was like the adventures of Milo and Otis. And anyway, I've been through that. But while I was there, it was not a fucking trial, and I don't know what the fuck it was. And I was told that I'd be getting a psychiatric assessment, and so I said, well, why don't you do that while I'm in hospital? Because, as you said, it's the same team. I'll be in hospital, here is my hospital number, why don't you do that? And then we can just sort that out at the same time, because I'm going to get a psych assessment anyway, because that's what they do, because no one in New Zealand can imagine a reason for wanting to die apart from having a mental health problem. So I'm going to get psychiatric attention anyway. They always do that. And so why don't we just do that together, or maybe you could do that instead, who knows, maybe you could collaborate, ask me questions together so I don't have to repeat myself. I don't know, whatever, should we do this in a sensible way? And I was there for 2 days, so that's enough time to order an assessment. And anyway, so when I was at court day before yesterday, so I was seen by this duty lawyer, Catherine somebody, she's pretty good actually, the before and after I went in. And afterwards she gave me a copy of this ACT review letter. And I remembered it last night, because I was still really sick when I went in. And I'm really glad, she was really good. She actually gave me fucking paper, not just a business card with a fucking thing. She actually gave me some fucking information. And so I got a letter from Regional Forensic Mental Health Service, Hamilton Hospital. So I've got a copy of that. So it's to the presiding judge. It was dated the 5th of March. Which was the day I was supposed to turn up, but I was just like, no, the day after I was supposed to turn up, and the day that I was basically, it is quite weird waking up from, or coming to, or whatever you do after a suicide attempt alone. Like, it is quite a weird process. And although I do not enjoy being in hospital anymore. I used to enjoy it, as I've said, because it was just nice and calm and serene. And of course, nurses are not feeling calm and serene. They're burning out all over the show. But for me, it's just that environment where things are clean and clear and everything's simple and I've got some room to think. I'm tiring of hospital these days. But anyway, I'm gonna, yeah, okay, so this is the letter, and then I think I'll read the letter, and then I'm going to upload this. It's 35 minutes. No one's going to hold their attention to this. I'm going to upload this, and I'm going to lead into the letter, and because it refers to the ridiculous, retarded fucking crisis resolution nurse interview that I had at my bedside that I recorded. I think I'll upload the recording first and or as well as, and then talk about how fucking ridiculous this is and what I need to do to find out what the fuck. Okay, thank you.